Hello, how you doing? I don't know why I had that Al Jolson in my voice there, but I did. How y'all doing tonight? Good to see you. Hold up, camera's a little creaky here. I don't want it to go too far up, but at the same time, can't be cutting my head off on my own broadcast. What's going on? Hey, sis, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in on tonight. We have, I think, some interesting things to talk about tonight. I hope because the goal is tonight talk about everything because it's been a long time since we've been um free to just chat. We haven't been able to do that for a while. So tonight we're coming on just for some uh, reviews of some news and events and whatnot. And I do believe that my son will be joining tonight. I also sent an invitation to, my sister to join us tonight as well. And gonna throw the link out here as well for the comment section. Anybody who feels so moved and there's a topic you want to share on, feel free to come on in and do what you do. So tonight I am so happy to see everybody here back at the check-in live. It's been a minute. We had a really good time. How do we could? I think last week we might have been on last week. I think that was. We had a really fun conversation on Ruth and caretakers and all of that. And my sister Clemisha, she faithfully she was here, and Sister Pam Brothers was here. We just had a good old time. And tonight it's more of a news and events kind of an evening, and because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. And I had actually, like this time around, I had actually taken some notes on some things that I wanted to talk about, and then that notepad got damaged. So we are just going to kind of flow through a few stories tonight. First and foremost, happy Black History Month. For those of you who, celebrate that kind of thing in February. I think we need to celebrate Black History Month all the time. Don't talk about me because I had to smell my drink. I just needed to make sure. Because I poured it from one cup into my Cowboys cup. And if it still smelled like coffee, it wasn't clean. So I didn't want to be drinking out of no dirty cup. Hello. So, but there's just been some really interesting things going on out here. 2022 has not disappointed in its ability to be weird, because it's been that and some. Some interesting things happening politically, some interesting things happening. Just everything. Everything is just really it's really wild right now. We have who knew we'd make it a year, with our new president. And what's funny is many times it will, honestly, the news from the White House has just been so sparse and so disappointing that many times it's kind of just real uneventful. real quiet. Joe out there doing, what we knew he would do. And yeah, it's gonna be really, really interesting to see how all of that goes. But I don't know if you remember where we were in dealing with that interesting president that we had. I won't talk bad about the man because I heard today it looks like he might be in some trouble. And I was listening to, but he's always potentially in some kind of trouble. Yeah, sis, I'm with you. We rarely see Kamala. And I think we saw her for what it was intended for us to see her was, just in case you people of color were thinking about, throwing your support behind Donald Trump. I've got a black with me, so support me. And yeah, so it's I believe that she served the purpose that she was sent to serve. And I don't think that there's any other real purpose for her. So we don't get to see her. Yeah, exactly. We don't get to see her much at all. I haven't heard much that she does. And I mean, I think that that's pretty typical for vice presidents is, they're given assignments and they work those assignments. But I haven't heard anything like good or bad, one way or the other. I haven't heard anything. Well, no, I take it back. I haven't heard much because I remember when Simone Sanders, who was a part of the campaign, looks like I got an antenna or a horn growing out the side of my head here, y'all. Forgive me. But when Simone Sanders was leaving the White House, because she was a part of Vice President Harris's staff, and she was leaving, and there was some speculation then that there were some issues going on, and I was hearing things in the news like, Vice President Harris comes to briefings, not prepared. She's not reading things that she's been given to prepare for. And, that there's some unrest about her role and what she's supposed to do, and that her roles aren't really being defined for her. And, but then by the same token, I recall also there was a bit of a scuff up where apparently Whoopi Goldberg had asked her the question about was she going to run, in the next presidential election. And she kind of, played the question off as if it wasn't serious. And Whoopi was offended. She's like, no, I think it's a legitimate question to ask. I think it makes sense. And it does. If we consider that, it seems many times when presidential influence is needed, it's almost like President Biden has to be coerced into saying something or getting involved. And he's a return to old politics. And I think we've just forgotten what that's like after the 4 traumatic years with President Trump. I think we just simply forgot that presidents were figureheads and, they talked, and that Congress was really where a lot of the power actually sat. And so we expect, these grand statements from President Biden. We expect these very decisive actions from him, when in fact, the president probably is one of the most limiting positions that you can hold, because you can't move the way the Congress moves. That's why, what's his face? The one that looks like an old turkey, looks like one of those old Carol Burnett characters. Mitch McConnell. That's why Mitch McConnell can get away with saying things like, African Americans vote the same way as regular Americans, under revealing to us in his heart that they don't see Black people as Americans. They don't see Black people as regular people. They see Black people as a kind of people. They see Black people as, something other than American. And so, and I mean, he spoke out of his heart. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, and it's not what he meant. No, he said what he meant. And so, but it's how you can make those kind of You can make those kind of statements as a congressman and never lose your job, because he doesn't have to appeal to America, even though what he says affects America. But he doesn't have to appeal to America at large. He only has to appeal to those people in his area that elect him. But their power far exceeds the little area that they're elected to work in. And so that's why, the Mitch McConnells of the world exude so much, power, much more powerful, I believe, than the president. The president's a seat of honor, and you're kind of the talking head. Hey, Minister Crystal, how are you? And so you're kind of the talking head, you're kind of the spokesperson. But as far as having, power and authority, we see it doesn't matter what gets proposed from the White House. If there is a crew in the Senate that says they don't want it, it doesn't happen. And so you end up with Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, those two people being able to, sideline a lot of projects that, we believe are really key. The things with voting rights and the things with, the budget, all of those different things were sidelined and weren't able to be as effective as they could be by two people who, again, don't have to appeal to America. They don't care that I don't support them, because I don't get to elect them. And so I think that those senators and those representatives, they actually exercise a greater power than our presidents do, because our president actually has to appeal to everybody, because they got to meet everybody's expectations. And so while we've had 2022, and I find myself chuckling when I hear conversations like, old Sleepy Joe, and those kind of things, because it's absolutely true. It's almost like it's almost like he's not there. And after, what we went through, I think it's a good thing to be able to forget for a moment that, this dude is still our VP, still our president. Because there was one thing for certain, two things for sure, is that when President Trump was in office, there was no forgetting, because something was going to be said or done that you knew he was going to have some kind of interaction in your day. So, so there's that. We're hopeful that things continue to to improve or get better. We're still, it seems almost like, repetitive motion of, we're continuing to deal with the COVIDs, whichever variant, strain, sub variant decides, that it's coming. We continue in prayer where that's concerned. And so politically, other than the potential war that we see out there sitting, where there's all these troops that Russia has prepped and ready, on the border of the Ukraine, and the whole time Vladimir Putin is saying, "Oh no, we're not being aggressive. We're not plotting nothing." Meanwhile, thousands of troops standing at the ready, waiting on orders. And so, it's a weird season that we're in, because thanks to the news, we get a chance to see a lot of everything that's going on. But because of the news, we have to just be hyper alert, because, there's just so much. Yeah, sis, President Trump, he made sure if there was a spotlight to be had, even if he didn't know what he was talking about, even it didn't matter. Not prepared, none of that. He cared not. He cared not. And when I say open to a fault, it didn't matter. He was going to say something. And many times it was going to be the worst possible thing. It was horrible recently when the story ran, because, the January 6th commission is still working on, the day that our government was under siege by some people. Um, and one of the things that Trump's staff people and people who were very close to him were saying was they didn't want him to make a statement because they knew if he came out and made a statement, he would probably make it worse. That's sad to say that that's where we were as a nation. And so, we're, it seems like maybe we're in quieter hands, but again, I think we're in the hands of one who knows how to play the game. And so when he's pushed and when he has to, he comes out to make a statement to keep us happy. Don't cry for me, Argentina, but he comes out and he makes a statement about whatever it is that needs to be made. But what do you think about there's a thing that he does that I really don't like. And one of them is he makes these statements about what he's going to do where it concerns Black people. And so, like when he was running for vice president, he made it known, I'm only looking for a Black woman. When it comes now that there's a seat potentially coming up open soon on the Supreme Court, he's made a statement, I'm only going to look for a Black woman. I only want a Black person for that. And my thinking is, and I could be crazy, help me, I could be wrong, I could be real crazy, but it just seems to me like if that's what you're going to do, then just do it. Making the statement means that for the next few weeks, as a Black person, I got to sit and be irritated by these news stories of people and opinions of people. Oh, well, he's just going to go get a Black person. And they're acting like he's going to come and get me. Not a lawyer, not trained, just he just going to grab somebody Black off the streets and make them a justice of the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, we fully know that when it comes down, yeah, that's exactly what it is, sis, is what I feel. That's what I believe. I firmly believe that it's all political. And not that he has a bad heart concerning Black people. I don't believe he does. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, just period. We're going to talk about that because one of the things that is happening out here in this world is right now racism is profitable. And so I think we're going to deal with racism for the rest of forever. As long as there's an America, I think we're going to be dealing with it because racism is profitable. But we'll talk about that later on. But it's like, okay, if that's what you're going to do, you're already giving your opposition all of the ammunition that they need, not to be right, but to fire up their crazies. Those people who say, they hate affirmative action because, well, that just means somebody Black is going to have, the ups on somebody white. And that's just not fair. That's reverse discrimination. And it's like, how crazy are you for real? Like, how ignorant of reality are you? And not understanding things like affirmative action were necessary because of what they were sent to combat. Affirmative action was sent to combat the fact that for so long, Black people were excluded from certain opportunities because they were Black. They were excluded from certain opportunities. What affirmative action did was now it made it illegal for that to be the only reason. Exactly. His statements really do make you feel like, to me, it just all feels like political ploy to me. My thing is, I don't want you to have a preference for Black people. I don't want you to have a preference for white people either. I don't want you to have a preference for any people. I want your decisions to be based on even levels. And if you're saying that, you're pursuing diversity, which we know is something that you're taking very seriously. We know that you take diversity very seriously, but don't hurt the process. Don't hurt the movement by saying, oh, well, he was only looking at Black people anyway. Oh, he was only looking at Chinese. He was only looking at Hispanics anyway. Oh, he was only looking at Asians anyway. So he wasn't looking for the best candidate. He was looking for the best Asian candidate. He was looking for the best. I mean, to me, for me, I just don't like the statements. Just do what you're going to do. Just do what you're going to do. Because it wouldn't be acceptable to come out and say, look, I'm looking for somebody to fill this position, and I'm only getting, I'm only looking for white people for this job. You couldn't do that. So why put Black people behind the 8 ball for even more hatred, more pushback, more pushback, more fighting from people who think you're already giving Black people everything free in the world anyway? I remember a lady I used to go to church with, this conversation that she was having in her Facebook comments with somebody was about, all the free stuff that Black people are getting. I'm like, man, where is this free stuff? I'm missing out on my Black people free stuff. Because I have to go to work every day to get anything. Where is my free Black people stuff? Because I don't know I don't know where it is. That's it. Exactly. Decide on the right person, not a particular race. Makes me feel like there is motive to it. Exactly. That's exactly it. And the unintended consequence of it all is, it just makes it that much more difficult when you out here dealing with these cuckoo birds in the streets who feel like they don't have, because, well, they just regular whites. If I was Black, and you cannot imagine working in social services, how many times we've heard that conversation. Well, if I was Black, as if Black was an eligibility factor for a program that we administer. It's like, no, Blackness isn't qualification for it. And if you look at the data, I haven't looked at the data in years because it's not a necessary conversation for me to have. But when you look at public assistance programs, of all of the public assistance programs that we ran at the time, the last time I looked at the data, there were only 2 where Black people, there were only 2 areas where Black people were the highest population of people that were receiving a particular service. One of those was housing, public housing, and the other was Pell Grants. Those were the only 2. Everywhere else, mathematically, look at the numbers. Right now in America, there are more white people than other races. Those numbers are changing, and I think that's a lot of why we see a lot of the fighting and the frustration and the complaining and the racial unrest and all of that is the demographics of America are changing. But those were the only 2 programs that you saw most, more Black people applying for, receiving benefits for. And what that says is, we've got more poor Black people trying to get school paid for than white poor people trying to get assistance with school being paid for. And we have more Black people needing assistance with housing than we do white people needing assistance with housing. And all of those speak to conditions in the budget, in the community. It doesn't speak to there's something with Black people. But Minister Crystal, Evangelist, I promise you, when she said that, my only possible response I had for her was, well, when you find out where they're giving away all the free Black people stuff, because I need what's coming. What's that Eddie Murphy joke? Eddie, I want what's coming to me. I want my free Black people stuff. But nobody's been able to help me with finding my free Black people stuff. So I gotta keep this job, man. Gotta keep going to work, but if one of you all finds it, can you put my name on the list? Because I've been Black a long time. And so I feel like there might be something I might be eligible for. I don't know. I'm just saying. So, but I don't know. I may not qualify anymore because we got our DNA test results. And back in, I think it was like November, December, I came on and talked about getting my DNA results done just out of curiosity. And we got those results. We got that testing done. And it was so funny to me just how black I am. And granted, you can look at me and see, I'm pretty black. And I mean, pretty black. Come on, girl. Yes. But that's not what I was talking about. What I was talking about is at the genetic level, not just the skin level. At the genetic level, I'm pretty dark. And so we have, hold on, I need to go get the numbers because I am, yes, here we go. Okay. So when we got those initial results, it turns out that I am 43.8% Nigerian, 16.4% Sierra Leonean, 13.2 just generic little West African in there, and then 1.8 Kenyan. And it was really interesting to go out there and look at some of the studies. And then there's other studies that go like even further into some of the other stuff. And I was really tickled to see the percentage of pygmy that that's in my bloodline. So for those of you who make fun of me for being short, leave me alone. You're being racist. Don't do it. But then, well, no, actually, only about 85%, because everything else was like it's like 13.7% Scandinavian, 3.2% Italian, 2.1% Finnish, and then something called Iberian, which I think is Iberian Peninsula, something a little Hispanic. And then there's like a dabbling of South Asian, a dabbling of from Nepali. And then there was like a 0.8% Native American. And the results surprised me because I believe it was my grandmother's grandmother who, I think it was my grandmother's grandmother who was a full-blooded Chickasaw Indian. And for those of you who don't know about Chickasaw Indians, I used to like carry that with pride. Oh, we got Chickasaw Indian. And then I did some study based on Don Cheadle's results on that show, Who Do You Think You Are, with Skip Gates, Professor Gates, where they go through your bloodline. And they went through, and Chickasaw Indians, like the worst, as far as I'm concerned, simply because they owned slaves and they very much wanted to fit in with whites. And so they owned slaves. They were apparently terrible slavers, to the point of when slavery was done, like in America, in their areas, those tribal lands of theirs, they still continued slavery because they didn't have to stop because those resolutions didn't apply to them. Yeah. It was raggedy. And so when I came to know about that, I was like not looking forward to my results coming back, because I was like, man, if there's a huge percentage of Chickasaw, I'm just, I don't know about all of that. So when I got my results back and the percentage was very small, I was like, thank you. But trust and believe, when we were sitting down going through the results, my son was like, okay, so I was like, yes, so now we got to go to Nigeria. And my son was like, say less. So he starts researching and getting everything together. But yeah, your girl's a Nigerian. So if I start to if I start changing my attire and start talking about moving to Nigeria, just know I'm going to be with my people. But hopefully that doesn't disqualify me from the free black people stuff, because I've been here in America my whole life. So wherever they have the free black people stuff, I want to go on that list. And look, I'm gonna look out for you. If I find it, I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna let them know. I know some other blacks who desire to be on this list, so they can get their free black people stuff too. Look, sis, I have earned my free black people stuff. I think I think I have. I feel like I have. I don't know. Maybe so. But yeah, just don't tell them about that 13% on that Scandinavian because that could get touchy. But hopefully there's enough for me. But for me to still qualify. But it was a real interesting thing though when I was sitting down thinking about my results because I started to feel like they were a perfect illustration of the slave trade because what you have is, and I know that there's further research that you can do to kind of timeline where genetically things began to come into line. Jason, don't be trying to get in my tribe. Don't try us. Don't try us. Don't try us. But it was so wild though because right before then I had been led to this documentary on Nigeria and it walked through like the really mixed history of Nigeria. It walks you through, the name of it is The Path of a Colony, I think is what it's called. And it walks you through all of the tough things that happened on the continent of Africa as a result of colonialism, but specifically the impact on Nigeria. And so it was really very interesting. And I was like, so when I finished the documentary after I got my results, and I'm gonna tell you, I felt a little pride. But when I sat down and looked at my results, it was like, man, that kind of looks like slave trade because you've got a people that's predominantly African, and at some point in the bloodline, there's some Scandinavian, there's some European that makes its way into the bloodline. And either on the continent or here in America, one of the two, I haven't gotten far enough into, understanding genetics to understand all of that. But it really, since then though, it's really given me a real connectedness and I feel a different way about black stuff, if that makes sense. Because now I know it's not just, of course, my people were taken from a place and brought to a place. Now I more specifically know where my people were taken from to be brought here. And so I'm gonna be honest with you, for about 30 days, I kind of had an attitude. I kind of had a real bad attitude because now I had my personal piece of that story of how horrible, that thing is, how horrible racism is, how horrible slavery was, and just how terrible American slavery was. Because you look at what it was, what the agenda was, and it was to break a people completely, without regard for family, people sent thither and yon, specifically breaking families up, and then requiring, that we not even speak languages that we knew, before we came here, no, speaking whatever language it is. And so now you will see people, complain about Ebonics and the way that we naturally talk, because it's how we talk at home. It's how we talk in our communities. And for so many years, that being looked down upon. But if you were to see someone who had immigrated to America with an accent, many times those things being celebrated. Whereas as Black people, we're made to feel like it's unlearned if you speak with a dialect that's common to Black people. Our brother Demetrius has a real strong that Florida accent. That Georgia and Florida, you can hear it. My cousins from Tuscaloosa, I'm told that when I was little, I had that really strong Alabama accenting, and I I'm at a place in my life though where I love accents. I love the story that your accent tells about where you've been and where you're from. And knowing that we as Black people, so many times we get involved in what's called code switching. You know, when I'm around a certain set of people, I talk this way. When I'm around another set of people, I talk that way. And, you know, there's some people call it talking white and all of that stuff. And that's neither here nor there, because I don't equate whiteness with speaking eloquently. I just don't. It's a decision. It's a decision that you make, because most of the whites that I know don't speak any better English than the Blacks that I know. So I wouldn't equate it with trying to be white or trying to sound white. And I think that those are things that, you know, we really have elevated past, you know, making those kind of statements. But knowing that as Black people, we have to do that kind of switching all the time. The story that was recently in the news about, I don't know if you all have heard about the podcast. Well, he does a lot of stuff, but one of the things that was called into question this past couple weeks has been this guy by the name of Joe Rogan. And he used to be the host of Fear Factor, is where I knew him from. I don't know the Joe Rogan that does all these other things that he does. And so he is a podcaster. He is he's a contributor or broadcaster for UFC fights. I think it's either UFC or just regular MMA. I don't know, whichever one it is. But so recently, Spotify pays him over $100 million for the rights to his podcast. And because he's been involved in spreading a lot of stuff about COVID and the vaccines, a lot of people have just really shunned him and just don't want to deal with him. But clearly he's still extremely popular because, again, Spotify broke him off $100 million check for chit-chatting, kind of like we're doing. That's why I say everybody needs to get you a camera and a microphone and get out here and exercise your muscles. Yeah. And see, that's the Joe Rogan I knew. Well, apparently, yeah, I knew the Fear Factor, goofy, you know, not funny comedy type stuff. But apparently he's been out here doing comedy. He's been out here being a mixed martial arts commentator, broadcaster, and he's been out here doing apparently a not so funny but extremely popular podcast. And he's one of the reasons that I said racism is profitable, because there are people who make a lot of money and they're extremely inappropriate. They're extremely racist. And so apparently what ended up happening was a few major music people decided to say that they were pulling their music off Spotify because of Spotify's support of what he was doing. And because, you know, COVID's pretty much, you know, ravaging America in many ways. So much loss of life. For them to have put so much financial backing behind somebody who was out here, you know, promoting using ivermectin and those other remedies, home remedies and things that we found not to be true. And yet people are dying trying this stuff. I think one of the guys was named Neil Young, and I know he's important to music. I don't know any of his music, but I know he's important in music. And so you had artists like him who came out and said, well, if you're going to pay him, take my music off your platform. And granted, Spotify doesn't pay artists well anyway. It's probably good for exposure, but they don't pay well. And if you're somebody who's been out there 1,000 years like Neil Young, you don't need the $25 you're getting from Spotify anyway, because they're really not paying artists very well at all. It's why I learned from my son to use. There's a few other streaming sites that if you're just trying to support an artist, support them over there. What was it? Bandcamp was one. And there's probably others. I know a lot of people use SoundCloud. I don't know how artists get paid off of that. But there's so many other options. You don't have to use Spotify for stuff. And as a matter of fact, as a result of this, I've been a Spotify subscriber for many, many years. But based on what I've been hearing, I'm seriously considering letting them go because there's so many other services that I already have that I can probably get the same results from, or if not better, um, than what I'm getting from Spotify. But I've been there for so long, it's going to take me a minute to get my life right. But I do believe I'll be canceling my Spotify as well. But so this guy says, look, take my music off. I don't want to share a platform with him. So Spotify comes out, and I don't know if they made any moves about the COVID stuff. But the next thing that happens is our girl, India Ari. I'm not the average girl from the video. That girl, India Ari. I am not my hair, India Ari. She posted a video in which she says, I don't care nothing about all that stuff. I don't like the way he talks about black people. Hold up. The way he do what? Because again, I don't think that most people are extremely educated on what it is that Joe Rogan does on this platform. So apparently, he's very free with using the N word on his podcast. Extremely free. Extremely free with his conversation on there. And extremely inappropriate. And there's some people who they like to color their bad behavior by, I'm a comedian. I'm out here for jokes and laughs. I don't hate black people. Well, apparently he says the N word a lot. So much so that I think it was like around 100 episodes of his podcast that they ended up dumping off of their site. Because once you get into them and you hear, they have to remove these episodes. Yeah. It's insane. It reminds me of that cartoon, the the Boondocks. There's an episode where this little boy who says the N word all the time, his teacher slips up and calls him the N word one day, and he is outraged. But the teacher says, but he uses the word so much. I thought it was his name at one point. Joking about it on a cartoon. These are black characters telling a black story. And I think if there's anything that we can own, let us own that. Let us have that. You all had it long enough and you used it to beat us up. If in black circles we're able to find something that we can salvage out of it and be funny or whatever, leave us alone. Stay out of it. It ain't your word. It ain't your word. So, who emerges into the stream? It's my handsome son, Brady Lewis. But yeah, that's the first thing that they say. I'm a comedian. I'm here for the jokes and the laughs. I'm not really racist. Brady talking about Joe Rogan and his N-word spree that he's gone on. And the thing that was so crazy about it, yeah, I'm at the place now where I used to be of the mindset, yeah, nobody should use it. But I came to know some time ago that it was one of my granny's favorite words. it rolled off her tongue effortlessly. And it's just a heavy word. It's a word that's been in heavy rotation and usage in my life. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Mr. Jason says hello. Vigils Crystal says hello. Exactly, sis. There's no way they didn't know. There's no way that they didn't know that he was that controversial. There's no way. And so yes. And so, I used to be of the nobody should use it. And then I thought, Mr. Klabisha says hello. But then, I thought about, what? You all used it so long against us. If there's something that we find in it redeemable, leave us alone. So there was yet another episode that I got a chance to see watching my favorite news anchor. And, most people will probably not see this as a news anchor, but he's literally the person who I get a lot of my stories from is Trevor Noah. And Trevor showed a clip from a conversation that Joe was having with the people on his podcast. And he's talking about going to see a movie, Planet of the Apes. And apparently he went to see Planet of the Apes in a black neighborhood. And his exact words were, he went to see Planet of the Apes, but he landed right in the middle of Planet of the Apes. At that point, I'm making a quality life decision about, am I continue? I think I gotta cancel my Spotify too at this point. Cause are you serious? And he's Brady, I can't hear you if you're talking, son.
Oh,
But yeah, you're muted. I think you're muted.
okay.
I don't even think you're low.
No,
Now you're muted. I can't hear you
yeah,
at
no,
all.
it's just not coming through.
Okay,
Can you hear me
you're
now?
real low. I can't hear you, but you're extremely low.
Yeah, that's weird.
And let me just
Uh,
check and make sure that I'm not turned down. Okay, I'm up. Okay.
all right. How about now?
I can hear you a little bit better. I don't know if you all can give us a one or a yes or something if you can hear Brady, because I can't. Um, I can hear you a little bit. I just have to be quieter. So,
I
um,
don't know. It's all
but
good.
yeah, he. I'm like, for somebody who's able to just like float with that kind of conversation. And what was so ugly was the guy who's on the podcast with him. You can see on his face that he's like, I ain't saying nothing. I'm gonna let you have these words, but I'm gonna just sit here.
You're not gonna catch me with this. Yeah.
And I continue to say, race. It's one of those things that entire exchange, and the fact that after these conversations, this man is still able to have what he has, do what he does. That, what, racism is profitable, and as long as there's money in it, we can be as mad as we want to be. These kind of things are gonna keep coming up. But it turned out there was just a ridiculous number of episodes. You there now?
Can you hear me?
Who?
Is it coming? Is it coming through?
I saw your lips moving.
Right. What's going on here?
Oh, but
Give me a second.
we it's like, it's just, it seems like we this kind of thing comes all the time, where it's like, oh, we didn't know he was a reprehensible human being. So apparently, at some point, knowing that they've given this bum $100 million, they made some contributions to something
Mm-hmm.
in an amount similar to what it is that they gave him,
Right.
but they didn't totally remove him from their platform. He's still out there.
Oh no, they spend too much money on
And
him.
the bad part about it is he'll probably be more popular than ever, especially now, knowing that we live in a land where these white people have this mythical free black people stuff. Then clearly he's going to have some unprecedented success. So Brady, were you familiar with Mr. Joe Rogan and what he does?
Oh yeah, I've watched a lot of Joe Rogan stuff over the years. Um, he's the one I was talking about when I was, researching the Younger Dryas impact. Can you hear me at all?
Mm-mm, I'm checking my audio to see if maybe the problem is just I can't hear.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm not hearing myself through this either, so I don't know. Um, but no, I've listened to a bit of his stuff. for sure. But you mainly listen for the guest more so than for him. But I didn't expect Spotify to do anything in particular. Like, I didn't expect them to go out of their way to get rid of Joe Rogan. They'd already paid him too much money, and culturally, he's too big to sort of get rid of at the time. So I don't know. I hadn't thought too much more about it past that. I don't expect famous people to
I
come
can't
on.
hear you, son. I'm sorry. You went out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to fix headphones. Give me one sec. I'll try to just go to it for you. All right. Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
I don't understand what this is having an issue with. So everything's coming through. Well, let me drop out real quick and then I'll come back.
Okay. But yeah, it's absolutely horrible to me that, even despite all of those things, that, he's still going to enjoy, the benefits of being a terrible person. And as long as there is money to be made, exactly. That's exactly it. Is while we live in a world full of, black people that are going to be outraged, there's plenty of people who support what he says. There's so many people that support what he does. There's so many people who believe what he believes. There's so many people who talk like he talks. And I think, and I don't know what you all think about this, but I think that he believes, like a lot of people, which being racist means you hate black people. I think there are a lot of racists who actually don't feel one way or the other about black people. Because somewhere in the mind, I'm only racist if I'm burning crosses in your yard, got a Klan membership card, and I think that there are people who feel like that's what racist is, and not understanding you can love black people and still not feel that they're your equals. You can have some black people that you're really close to, and those people, you don't see them any differently. But those other black people, you can have those prejudices and not treat people bad. Exactly. I got a black friend. I got a black friend, and my black friend would tell you I'm not racist. Now, the fact that you have a black friend might be the indicator that there might be a problem. I remember clearly in my lifetime meeting white people who had never met anybody black, didn't know anybody black. I remember, look, or a black girlfriend, look, but just one. And I remember, my brother telling a story of meeting some of his in laws and their children for the first time. And the baby being fascinated because she had never met anybody black, and she just wanted to touch him and see, just like what his skin felt, as if it wasn't going to be human skin. And she's a baby, so I give her a pass. She was a little girl, so I give her a pass. But there are some people who they're a good age and they don't know no black people. They don't interact with anybody. Exactly. There are many that we're connected with on a daily basis and get along with them, but in their eyes, we are below them. Exactly. And I just don't know that people really understand that. Then, oh no, I'm not racist. I'm not out protesting black people. I would have let Ruby Bridges go to school with my kids, but my kids don't mix with the black kids at their school. because we're just different. And so I think that it's really, we're getting to a place where we've got to be able to have these kind of conversations with the people in our lives who believe that they're not racist or don't see how they benefit from the racism that exists in America, who don't understand the psychological impact of living in a racist country, and you're the people that racist structure puts on the bottom. And I already know, there's going to be critical race theory. There's not a structure. Well, if you live Black in America, you know full well there's a system and there's a structure, whether you teach it in schools or not. And it's so weird because that critical race theory conversation has just gotten strange because, we don't want white kids to feel bad. But what about the little Black kids who live Black in America, knowing that in America, not so very long ago, it was legal to be owned by a person for no other reason than you were born Black? That in a world where young people like Emmett Till killed just for being wrong place, wrong time, and having the audacity to let his little Black eyes gaze upon a white woman. Black Wall Street, where I'm literally, when people say I'm today years old, I remember last year. I was last year old when it turned out, that was just kind of a powder keg situation ongoing, but things were triggered by a white woman raising the alarm about this Black man who got on the elevator with her. And he's trying to get to the bathroom. And an entire community is ultimately wiped out. Seeing how Black people were used in the labor movement and living here in East St. Louis, understanding the East St. Louis riots and how Black people were specifically used. And so it's things like what's going on now. Don't start no trouble now. Because you can bother any community, but don't touch that. You can bother any community, but don't say nothing about that. Yep. And that's the way that it is. And it's so difficult to explain to people, but I think we're at a place in life, in culture, definitely in the church, where we've got to be able to, have those conversations, because the education piece is necessary. It's important for people to understand you don't have to try to kill me to hate me. You don't have to speak bad to me. You don't have to say anything terrible to me in order to feel something in your heart and treat me a different kind of way. And then, if you don't have that bunch, then you've got the I don't see color. Well, now you can't totally divorce me from what I've been through, what I've lived. You can't divorce me from the things that we've experienced, the things done to us. There was a really interesting conversation happening on, I think it was on Instagram, and a young lady made an observation that was profound to me. And it was just an argument I had never thought to make, but now I make it all the time. And what she talked about was how, so there's studies out that talk about, the long-term effects of racism on Black people, and how living, in a racist society has made us more prone to certain mental illnesses. She said, but you never see anything talking about those who were guilty of the racism for generations and generations and generations, and what the psychological impact was for them. And that if the only way you see long-term psychological effects is you've studied Black people down to the millimeter, but you've not really looked at the effects of being the oppressor and what mindset that creates in people. And so that's why you can see people outlawing things, because look, we don't want these little white kids to feel bad. And again, I don't want anybody to feel bad. I just want you to recognize there's an issue, and then let's work to make sure that the issue is never repeated. I watched the Women of the Movement series. It really went in depth about what happened. Yeah, I haven't. It's on my list of things to watch, because I'm going to share in a little bit the thing that I've grown addicted to. I actually probably need prayer. But I haven't had an opportunity to sit down. I sat down to watch it, and I realized I wasn't in the right headspace to watch it. And then I put on the We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby documentary. And about 30 minutes in, I was like, I don't need this in my brain, and I'm about to go to sleep. So I turned that off, and I ended up making my way over to Disney Plus and watched Hamilton. And we're going to talk about that. Like, I probably wanted to like do a show just about Hamilton because it was so good. But yeah, sis, these conversations are extremely important. We see it in religion. For many years, I did ministry with and worshiped with some of my white counterparts in the gospel. Then a divide came when Trump ran for office. It was heartbreaking and sad. Ma'am, I had some people who I was surprised at how vocal they were in their outrage that I was not a Trump supporter. I mean, you worshiped with us. I mean, there's no way you feel like that. And as things started to unfold and unravel, and eventually we got to George Floyd situation, and I remember going over and checking the website to see, like, what are they talking about? Because these people have had all kinds of issues when we were going through the situation with Mike Brown, when we were going through Mike Brown's killing, when we went through Trayvon Martin stuff. You know, there's all these little opinions and whatnot. And I happened up on the live stream for the church I used to go to. And a few minutes in, the pastor, I'm like, is he just not going to address it? Maybe that's the approach, because you've got, you know, those in the evangelical world who really feel like we shouldn't be talking about racial issues. It's a distraction from the gospel. And I think it's an intricate part of things, because I believe we make a bigger difference between people than God ever did. Scriptures tell us that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, not black world, not white world, the world. So you're absolutely right. There's no race on the gospel, but the church, that's a whole nother thing. And those are conversations that we definitely have to have, because there's no way to be the church without spot or wrinkle when racism is in the heart of people, and when bitterness is in the heart of those who've been the victims of racism. So there's a twofold healing that needs to happen, and it's not going to happen if we can't even have conversation with one another. But the outrage and the ridiculousness that was said over social media and all of that. But my rabbit trail, I went around. When I went over to hear what the pastor was saying about, you know, a lot of the revolts and the disruptions after the George Floyd murder, the messaging was horrible to me, because he talked about your right to defend yourself. Mind you, ain't nobody looting or rioting in Illinois, in our area. So why the conversation was even being had further lets you know the thing that's resting in the hearts of fools. But talking about, you having the right to kill somebody, for threatening your property and threatening your home and threatening your family, and literally talking about it being defendable by the scripture to kill people who were looting and rioting. And not one word about why the people were looting and rioting. Not one word about George Floyd being murdered. Not one word, even if you believe the officer was correct, was appropriate. Not one word uttered about what got the situation started. But all this conversation supporting a violent reaction to people expressing their hearts about a situation, their frustrations about a situation. It was not surprising, but it was confirmation that I needed of a thing that I had just really been concerned about. And it really has been one of the driving messages behind a lot of the ministry messages that I do get, because there is a great concern in the body of Christ. There is a great concern in the church, and racism is her name. And it's going to be very, very painful for many in the evangelical movement over these next few years if we don't get some understanding. It's going to be devastating to the American church. It's going to be devastating because that racism has to be killed. It's got to die. But you're not going to kill it if you don't see it in you. If you think racism is burning crosses, if you think racism is lynching Black people, and that's all it is, it's not how you feel in your heart about Black people. It's not how agitated you got because now your daughter's dating somebody Black, or your son is married to a Black woman now. And I don't know about you all, but I think maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, we went through a season where it was hard to find a white family that didn't have some biracial or multiracial children have in their families. And these were families who were very much on that side of being, I'll say, racially unaware. I'll say those who you couldn't tell them they were racist because they didn't in their hearts hate Black people. But they didn't have any interactions with Black people. So they really didn't know they didn't know no Black people. They didn't deal with any Black people. Maybe at work. Maybe you should pass them in the store. But when it comes to having like Black people in your life, no. And so it was disturbing to me that was the message coming from the pulpit. And it's like, if that's the message coming from the pulpit, then you can only imagine what's happening out here in the pews. And when I saw that the ultimate end that ended up happening with that ministry, and the ministry actually ended up transitioning out of business, period, it was saddening to me because there was a time when there was such a great work going on there, and it ended up dying, and racism killed that ministry, literally did. And just watching it happen from beginning to end was really, it was sad because it's not the only body like that. But by the same token, there's a thing happening in religion, in the body of Christ, in the Black church, where there's a lot of bitterness towards whites. And that bitterness is just as heinous, I believe. My unpopular opinion, but that bitterness and hatred, even though it's a result of the racism, it's the same darkness, and it's got to be dealt with. So, I think that it's going to be important. You'll hear these conversations here a whole lot because I think it's important to have the conversation. You'll hear it here and over on Christ is Our Culture, because I think it's important to have these conversations openly and not keeping them behind closed doors. And, when Black people, when we're together, we talk about it a kind of way. If we're having conversations in Black households, I have to believe that there's either some conversations or worse, a total avoidance. which means there's no examining of our ways because our ways are perfect. No, we don't talk about racism in our household because we don't hate Black people. No, Donald Trump didn't hate Black people. No, there's no racist structure keeping Black people from accomplishing. As I said, these very same people who I had worshiped alongside, loved the Lord alongside, learned a lot in the scriptures from, these very same people. What are they mad about? What do they want? It's not they're not already getting enough free. These were the people who helped me to that free Black people list. It keeps going. It's a cycle. We keep coming. There's gotta be a list out here, y'all, because we keep coming back to this free Black people stuff. So, but hopefully a little levity to close out what's a difficult topic, but nevertheless a conversation that I think is necessary for us to have. And I pray regularly that the Lord continues to allow me to have a heart to be able to discuss it in a way that makes sense, that doesn't water down the anger and the frustration, that doesn't allow me to water down how heinous it is, but at the same time doesn't cause me to be so upset that I'm not able to hear and understand so that I know how to pray for those who really don't realize the full level of the fullness of all that racism is. Okay, that is not just burning crosses and kill Black people. The Jews will not replace us marching in Charlottesville. That there isn't a real economic pressure that people are feeling, but know that Black people ain't your problem. Jews are not your problem. Capitalism is your problem. But the natural reaction of these people was to believe that a person of a different race or ethnicity was their problem. No, sir, you're in the coal mines, and America is moving away from that resource. When Donald Trump told you he was going to get you back in the mines, I don't know what you were going down there to get, because we tapped most of those resources. So yeah, you're not going back in the coal mine. That's not Black people's fault. That's not the fault of Jews. You're going to have to take that up with the Lord, because there's only so much coal you're going to get out of this mine. So but it's telling to know that your issues with not having a job, why would that have anything to do with the Jews will not replace us? That's what they were chanting in Charlottesville. Why would you not having enough money be the fault of another ethnic group? Because you're a racist. I don't have any plainer language. Because you're a racist. The young lady who told me my family was slaves too. Really? I didn't know you were Black. Where? In Albania. Girl, we in America. My people were slaves right here. You should go to Albania and take that up with the Albanian officials. But my people were slaves right here in this here country. So, it was the most ridiculous, and it was just amazing. And then the memes started coming from a story where I think it was Morgan Freeman was talking about, we talk about race too much. Well, yeah, that's the conversation I'm gonna have if I'm making good white money. Like, Morgan, don't keep bringing up that racism stuff. Because every time they need somebody to be God, they come and get me. I'm Morgan Freeman. We shouldn't talk about race. So I don't blame him. It is what it is. But we are going to continue to beat that horse everywhere that I can as the Holy Spirit allows me on the church channel, but over here as many times as we get to have the conversation. And so, speaking of racism, and I'm hoping my son can get his sound together because I really want to get his take on some of the things that's happening. Speaking of racism, I don't know if you've been following the story about the coach in Miami. Oh, sis, they've been had Morgan. Yeah, it was an old clip. And if one more person posted that meme, I was going to scream. Because I'm like, who appointed Morgan Freeman? And can you please go find somebody else? Don't tell me nothing Morgan Freeman said. Don't tell me nothing Candace Owens said. No, don't tell me nothing Candace Owens says. Candace Owens is insane. Don't tell me nothing else Candace Owens said. I don't want to hear what she said. Ben Carson. I think one of the biggest travesties of the Trump presidency was the black people that he stole from us. Because I never watched that Healing Hands movie that was based on Ben Carson's life. But do you remember when Ben Carson was a black hero? When we were proud of Ben Carson, when you wanted you like, man, I want my kid to be just like Ben Carson, intelligent doctor, and world renowned. Donald Trump stole our black hero from us. The Republican Party has turned Ben Carson into, I don't know what that is. I didn't care for Herman Cain's politics, but Herman Cain was an extremely successful black man. And he died a caricature. And you can think, I've been able to respect, black Republicans like Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice. That because politically, the war was a big thing, definitely. But at least Colin Powell was able to come back and say, General Colin Powell was able to come back and say, yeah, we probably did some things we shouldn't have. But he got to keep his status as a black hero. Condoleezza Rice, had some extremely amazing things. Other blacks that were connected to other Republicans, their whole everything didn't fall apart. Ben Carson is a clown. He's a joke. And we lost the black hero. Even black celebrities like Omarosa, I think black people have moved on from some of the foolishness she had done back in the day. Ain't nobody checking for Omarosa no more. Donald Trump was out here ruining black people. But I digress. The story that I was talking about was a gentleman by the name of Brian Flores, and he was fired from his job with the Miami Dolphins. And despite I believe winning seasons, as a matter of fact. But nevertheless, it's the NFL. They do what they do, It's free enterprise. People do what they do. Coach Flores is interviewing for a job. He's got a job interview scheduled. And he gets a text message from Bill Belichick, essentially congratulating him for the Giants job, or for the other job, for whatever job that was. He texts back, well, wait, have you heard something I haven't? Because he knows he's got an interview for this job coming up. But he's getting this text message congratulating him for getting the job. And so he's like, well, hold on, you heard something I don't know about? Which prompts Coach Belichick to respond in a way that lets Coach Flores know, oh no, they already know who they're hiring for this job. Coach Blackie, we're just interviewing you because there's a rule that says we have to. But we've already made up our minds about the other one. And Coach Belichick is like, oh man, sorry, my bad. Texted the wrong person. But yeah. the word is already out who they're giving this job to. So he is, I'm so happy. It makes me happy, actually. So he's actually suing the league and trying and really making the case that the owners are making a mockery of what that rule was intended to be. That rule was intended to ensure that you all, it's just like affirmative action. That law was intent that rule was put in place, the Rooney rule was put in place to ensure that Black coaches were at least getting an opportunity to interview for jobs. Well, what Coach Flores' lawsuit says is, yeah, we're getting an opportunity, but it's not really helping with the like actual factual resulting in more Black coaches getting jobs. As a matter of fact, there are less Black head coaches now than there were when they passed the rule. Right now, you've got the one lone Black holdout, Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Other than that, there are no Black head coaches despite all those Black players. But again, it goes back to that mindset that people wouldn't even identify as racist until you pointed out to them that it's racist. Because, you know, for the longest, teams didn't want Black quarterbacks because quarterback was a thinking position. And yeah, we can have Black players be the workhorses. You know, the running back that's getting hit all the time, the wide receiver that's getting knocked down all the time, the defensive lineman, because you know Blacks are big and strong, the offensive linemen, because you know they're big and strong. But that quarterback, you know, that's a thinking man spot. And so for so long, you had you had no Black quarterbacks. And, you know, now you've got a smattering of them. And so when it comes down to Blacks, we've got Black offensive coordinators. We've got, you know, position coaches. But the head coaching job, man, that's a thinking man's job. And so you see fewer Blacks getting the opportunities for those jobs, despite their level, whatever their level of success is. And it's again one of those things that lets you know, yeah, you all can be the entertainment at our show. Apparently there's a concert that they're having at halftime this year. It's not just a little one-man show. I'm like, what is everybody gonna do? Are they just gonna come out and say, hey, tip their hats and go? How long is this halftime show gonna be? And then I have questions with this halftime show. You're in LA, so I understand why you're using Snoop Dogg. I get it. Los Angeles, you know, California, okay, fine. And I heard Snoop like owns Death Row Records now. I don't know. We'll talk about that later because I don't know. So I understand why Snoop's there, and I understand why Dre's there. And I get Eminem is, you know, so closely associated with Dre. I get that. I don't understand why Mary J. Blige is there. Good night. Good night, Evangelist. Good night, good night, good night. And thank you for checking us out tonight. The Deaf Rappers. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I was talking with my sister about it yesterday. And I'm like, I understand why everybody else is there, but I don't get Mary J. She's not from LA.
It just seems like a random throw in.
Yeah. She's not connected to, and that's what I'm thinking is they just needed a female performer, so here you go.
Yeah, but they have so many. I mean, it's LA. Like, there's so many artists out there that they could have used. Like, not that I'm upset about saying Mary J, but
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I'm probably going to enjoy Mary most of all because Mary has old Black woman rhythm, and she just makes me laugh.
Sure.
So I'm looking forward to the terrible dancing.
Of course.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully she'll bring Lil Kim out and they'll both do what they do.
Right.
But I'm actually kind of looking forward to the game. I'm really excited about the potential of what those quarterbacks can do
Hmm.
and what those I don't know. I think it's two good teams. I think this is going to be exciting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially for me. My sister got mad because I told her we were going to talk about Tom Brady tonight. She's like, "What you got to talk about him for? He ain't did nothing."
Right.
And
He just
I'm
trying
like,
to go home.
right. And I'm like, but I think it would be wrong not to talk about his career ending injury.
Right.
As we were talking about the other night, these people out here getting concussions and breaking limbs and tearing ACLs.
Hmm.
And Tom got a hurt lip and got to retire.
Right.
What in the madness is going on?
I mean, listen. If y'all just randomly get punched in the mouth at a game, I'd probably leave too.
I would. I mean, I'm a regular human being, though.
Right.
But I'm like, he got a taste of what getting hit feels like, and he's like, well, nah, I'm out. But it's going to be interesting because think about it. It's the first time in many years we haven't had him or the young man I love to call Tom Brady Jr. Um, Woody Woodpecker. What's that child's name?
'Cause you have to be a little more specific.
The quarterback in Kansas City. What is that baby's name?
Oh, Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, he's had a pretty unprecedented situation here where he's been a Super Bowl every year, hasn't
You did two. Yeah, two back to back.
he? Let's see.
Or
What?
no, sorry, my math. No, yeah, it was two back to back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, he's been here. Yes, Mahomes. That's him. As Shannon Sharp calls him, my homeboy, who I really like. But I'm not disappointed that he's not there this season. I think Joe Burrow is going to give us an interesting show. If nothing else, like I said, I'm not a technical sports fan. I just love the game. I
Mm-hmm.
love the atmosphere, the lifestyle, the culture of football. So I'm super excited to see what he's gonna wear. Because when he showed up
Scores.
looking like 1987 with that big dookie chain,
I was gonna say the big fur coat and everything. Yeah.
the fur coat, and the boy band hair, I was like, this kid might be my favorite white person right now.
Mm-hmm. He's top.
Hold on, let me make sure
Mm,
I got the
top
noise.
five or six. Actually, that might be me. Now I'm thinking about it.
Okay, hold on.
Cause I turned off. So it's probably me.
I was you.
Yep.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
No,
I'm
I.
looking forward to it. I don't know anything about the Bengals except they seem to be a very black team.
Uh huh. That's usually what happens when we see these quick turnarounds. The team just
Uh-huh.
got really black really quick, and then
Yeah,
they switch everything out a year later, and they're confused on why the team isn't as good.
right, right. No, I really didn't know a whole lot. Matthew Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford because he won me a lot of fantasy league games for a long time. And I would always, when I started playing fantasy and I would draft, like 2 years, I said like I did it all the time.
Right,
two
right.
years I was in fantasy leagues where I got to do the draft.
Hmm.
And I remember one year I got Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson.
Oh, sheesh.
It was amazing. I mean, I was cleaning house. It was fantastic because I was getting the benefit of both worlds. It was great. And then Calvin decided to go home and it
Right,
just fell apart. And the fact that Detroit never, won anything wasn't any big deal to me
right.
because Matt got me these points, man, and it was fantastic. So I'm happy for him,
Hmm.
to make it to a Super Bowl. I hate, Calvin went home early. Well, I mean, I'm glad because he left with his
Right.
mind mostly intact. Out here selling the marijuana.
Got to make your money. You know.
He's out here selling the devil's weed. at these dispensaries, like
Right.
a lot of these players are.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a conversation to be had as well, about that entire industry, because football players have a tendency to have an injury that those that marijuana itself actually has some good properties for them. So,
Mhm.
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that at another time. So, do you have a pick for this Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. I'm not really that invested, but I'm on the side of chaos whenever that's an option. So I'm totally here for the Bengals winning.
I, you know
Just for
what?
the chaos of it.
Yeah, I didn't think I had a pick. And then I was watching when they beat the 49ers. And I really, because of what the 49ers
Mm.
did to my Cowboys, I really wanted to believe that they were invincible,
Right,
because it hurts a little less if the
right,
people that beat you go on to win. It's like, you know what? That look, it was just on them. They
right,
had it.
right. This is
And
their year.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I watched the tail end of that game, totally expecting to be there for the 49ers because they're pretty,
Mhm.
fantastic. And a team with a player, that I don't know if he's called Debo or if that's his real name, but either way, I mean that got points.
Yeah. No, this is real nice.
And so I love that. That's the most ghetto thing ever. Like I want on the low, I want a dog, like a
Hmm.
little mini like bulldog
Hmm.
or French terrier with the bows in the hair, and I want to name him Debo.
Right. So this
But
large name, yeah.
yes, I want this massive bully name on this little bitty dog. I think it'll be awesome. But I mean, they were really impressive in the game where they wore my Cowboys out. Like I said, I was impressed.
Hmm.
Um, and Jimmy G is, he ain't bad,
Right.
so.
Well, he
And
about to go home anyway, so it's or not
he,
home, but he about to go somewhere.
he's getting ready to go somewhere though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's it's time. And so, I really came out expecting to not even feel any kind of way. Just okay, game's on, somebody won.
Yeah. Right.
I watched that game and I was screaming for the Bengals. It was ridiculous. They grabbed a hold of my heart, and I'm like, I'm and I'm here for the tomfoolery, the shenanigans, the foolishness.
Hmm.
And if they can come from wherever it is they came from, 50 years with Marvin Lewis,
Right.
who, I mean, like, is he dead? How long has Coach Lewis been gone? I need to.
It's been about 4 or 5 years.
It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm just like, I know that black coaches have had some difficulties, but Marvin Lewis was like in Cincinnati, and it was okay to just make the playoffs and keep it moving, keep it pushing.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like I don't care. I don't like the Rams,
Right.
but they're exciting to watch when
For
they're
sure.
on. When they're on, they're exciting to watch.
For sure.
And I don't know anything but on from Cincinnati because again, that's the only time I watched them play.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know anything about them to feel one way or the other. But
Mhm.
just the way that they were able to pull me in with that excitement in that game,
Mhm.
I feel like when the game gets going, I'll probably be rooting for them.
Yep. No, that's I'm here for, the young kids coming in and taking up space basically. Uh
Mm-hmm.
so that's for me cuz that's sort of what this represents. If I'm looking at it from like a macro like perspective.
Yeah.
It's you got the young kids who are, first 3-4 years in the league, and then you got the old heads. You got, Stafford, OBJ, Von Miller, all these
Yeah.
guys have been in the league 8-10 years, forever. So for me, like I said, I'm on the side of, new wave of things and just chaos happening where it
Yeah.
feels like just anybody can win at any time. And
Mhm.
I think that's what the Bengals sort of do for us if they win.
The Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Exactly.
but yeah, I'm here for the chaos of it all, and I'm excited about it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to Joe Burrow's outfit.
Of course.
I'm looking
Same with
for.
OBJ.
Mm-hmm. True that. True
Yep.
that. He's an interesting character for me. I'm happy for him because I've always liked him.
For sure.
I've always liked him. Aaron Donald.
Hmm.
Um, I love the Rams coach. I should like the Rams, but I can't. I just
Yeah,
don't.
I can't bring myself to do it. Not after, not when
Yeah.
you know that they were, purposely making the team bad for years while they were here just so they could find their way over to LA. You know,
Yes. Yes.
that kind of
And
stuff doesn't go away.
yes, and I wish I could get the footage to play, but there's a video on Instagram Reels, and I've seen it before, but it came up again the other day about the Get Back coach that
Oh yeah, yeah.
that Coach McVay has.
Hmm.
Is I was like, Coach McVay got a usher. My gosh.
Gotta
But
have
he
an
has
armor
a
bearer at
coach
all
who
times. Yeah.
comes and grabs him and keeps him out of the way to keep him
Mhm.
from running into the officials. And it made me laugh because there were so many churchy jokes. And I was like, I'm gonna sit down and do some video editing. This is gonna be my first reel
Right.
because I'm like, this dude got an usher. This man is both usher and Holy Spirit Jr. Just
You
I
know.
would get in the way. I would get involved, but no.
Right. Right.
It is hilarious to me.
It's like y'all not
But
ready for that. Let me go ahead and
yes,
yeah.
yes. So I should like be 1,000% behind the Rams. I like their coach, I like their quarterback, and they've got a smattering of players who I really like.
Mhm.
But I feel like once that game comes on, I'm gonna feel a certain kind of way about these Bengals who are gonna be hyped.
Mhm.
If I don't see Ocho Cinco somewhere this weekend talking crazy
Mhm.
about the Bengals. Um, did Terrell Owens ever play in Cincinnati?
Mhm.
Okay,
That was his second to
right.
last year.
Because
Yep.
they were like a 1-2 punch. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we should get we should get a good level of foolishness.
That's actually my one issue with the Bengals is there's a kid now on that team with the number 85, and I think that's disrespectful
Mhm.
that they haven't retired that number
It is.
for
Oh,
what Chad did for them.
it really is.
Uh,
Chad was iconic.
yeah, like a borderline Hall of Fame, Hall of
Yeah,
Fame guy, and that's a number you retire. I think.
yeah. I think so as well. I do. I think so. I think the reality TV life of Chad may have gotten in the way,
Mhm.
but just who he was as a personality and as a player, I
Mhm.
think something is wrong if we don't Hall of Fame that dude.
Right. Well,
I he
it
was one
didn't
of my
even have to be Hall of Fame. Like that's it just has to be his team at least respecting him that
yeah.
way of like retiring his number. Like he doesn't have to be Hall of Fame, but his team should respect him enough to say like we're gonna go ahead and ret-
Absolutely. If he was a
for
cowboy, he'd be in the circle of honor. If he was a
oh for
cowboy,
sure.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the dude changed his name to Ocho Cinco. Like that's and
Well,
you're gonna give his jersey away to somebody else. That's crazy.
what else do you need? But Michael, they still playing with 88. So, we just
Y-
but it's a
Yeah,
thing though. You get to
right.
wear 88.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't
that's what I was
I
gonna
don't
say.
yeah,
If they get him to sign off on somebody being 88,
right.
that one's not just
Right.
some random dude gets to come in and
Right.
grab the number.
Right. It's an honor to get to wear the 88.
Hmm.
But 88s be falling apart though.
I was gonna say.
Because
Uh,
Des Bryant crashed and disappeared.
mhm.
I
And now
don't know if
CD.
they're gonna give it to him, Minister Jason. I really, somewhere on the inside of me, I feel like they're gonna come in there and play like some Project Kids, and it's gonna go down. I'm actually looking forward to this Super Bowl. I think it's gonna be interesting.
Mhm. I
I think
don't.
it'll be really
I don't
interesting.
know. I think they would. You know, if they were ever going to fix something, I think this is the year. Well, I think last year was the year. And once you get a chance to give Tom Brady a ring, you know, you do it.
Right.
But if they were going to fix something this year, it's definitely the Rams. Because I
Right.
mean, they getting a Super Bowl in SoFi or in LA. You got to give them that,
I
and
agree.
it's a great story,
Yeah.
But you know, I just don't want to see
Yeah.
it.
If the referees jump in and become an issue, I then will know the fix is in.
Hmm.
But just as it's played, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't looked forward to the game in a while. I mean, I watched the game, of course,
Right.
um, but it'll be interesting without my granny this year too.
True.
Um, but um, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm seriously looking forward to it. So
Oh yeah.
we shall see. But we already talked about Brian Flores. You got any take you want to throw in on that?
Uh, Not really. I don't know what their sort of next steps are for that because it's. I mean, you can't tell people who to hire, and there's no like way to ensure that they hire more black people or more like the phrase people of color.
Right,
Um, so there's no way to ensure that they do that because right now they get extra draft picks and they do it, and they're not doing it. So
right.
there's no other way to try to help it out there. Like there's just you know some nonsense we're just going to continue to see because we don't even have a good way of doing that in the regular world. So I don't know how they'll do it in the NFL. Um, so more power to them. I hope something comes of it. Just because I don't have an answer. I mean, there's not one, but you know, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I'm really, I'm look. It's the first time in a long time I'm kind of looking forward to the whole thing. Like I
Hmm.
really want to see the game. I really want to see the halftime performance.
Hmm.
Um, I'm interested in this pregame because I know I've heard Nikki Guyton sing, but I don't know anything about her.
Who this is?
Some singer by the name of Nikki Guyton
Mickey Guyton.
is going to be performing the anthem. Well, look, hold on. Let me Google her because I don't know who she is and what she does. I
Great.
just know that she's getting to sing the national anthem.
Oh.
Mickey
Oh, hold
Guyton
on one second. Let me grab
is
my charger.
an oh, she's a country singer. That's why I don't know her. Well, there
Oh,
you
okay, that
go.
makes sense.
But she's a
Yeah, that
white
makes
girl.
perfect sense. Oh, that's what's up.
So yeah, okay. In 2020, Guyton released the single "Black Like Me," which speaks on her experiences as a black woman, particularly a black woman in country music. It was released in the wake of the George Floyd protests and the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, go off. Okay, cutie girl. So Mickey Guyton is performing the U.S. anthem prior to the game, while Janae Aiko, who I love, will sing "America Beautiful."
Oh, that's a weird. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm here for it, but also
Okay, I say I love her.
Tori
I
Kelly
only
is
know
right
one
there.
song. Yeah, I only know a few songs. And the one song of hers that I know, I feel like there will be crystals and incense burning on the field.
Oh, for
I could
sure.
be wrong. Okay.
Well, and that's why it's
But
interesting. It's like I don't think of Janae as like like a singer. She's like
uh-huh.
a vibes person.
Five.
Like that.
Yes.
I don't look to her for like singing.
Yeah.
And then you're in LA. Like I said, Tori Kelly's right there. She's black. Like she just don't look black, but
Tori is underappreciated, I feel like.
oh yeah,
And I say that knowing I still haven't seen Sing 2.
right,
So I have every opportunity to support her, and I have not yet.
right.
So let's see. So let's see. It says guidance performance will take place on the 13th at SoFi Stadium prior to the championship game and the halftime show. The show will be followed by Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar, which as it gets closer, I get more excited about that combination of people. It's weird. It's okay. Mickey Guyton made history as the first African American woman to be nominated for a Grammy in the country category and as the first solo artist to host the Academy of Country Music Awards. She's a
Oh.
four-time Grammy nominee. Oh, okay.
Apparently, I'm just not paying attention to what's going on out there.
Clearly, I just don't know. What's going on out here in America. Well, okay then. Well, kudos to Sister Guyton. Rock on.
Right.
Black girls rock.
Shout out to her. Shout out to them. Well, the whole team.
And let's see, Aiko, a six-time Grammy nominee, is one of R&B's top stars and has multiple platinum certifications for songs such as Sativa. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, they're okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, there will be weed and incense burning. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Happy birthday. There we go.
But yeah,
Okay,
that's just a weird choice for it to be in LA. There's just, LA singer, well, LA artists have been sort of running the scene for the last like 5 years or so. So it's weird to pick Janae. We have singers out there.
Okay, so what are Mary? What is Mary doing? What's happening? I don't understand why their picture is here. Okay.
Maybe they think Mary J. Blige is a part of.
Right. I'm like, what is
She's the first Mary in Mary. Yeah.
right? Like, what is this picture? And then there's some white guy. I don't know. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm gonna move on from that because I don't know what's happening there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I do, before I go to bed, I do want to offer my best wishes, surprisingly, to one Thomas Brady, who I feel like deserves everything he's gonna get. Look, sis, before I move on, that's my unpopular opinion. Cause wasn't last year that Weekend guy who's just creepy to me?
Well,
And he
this last
seems
year
like one of
weekend.
those people, either you get him or you don't. And I didn't. And I that's one of the things I enjoy about the halftime show is a lot of times like I will be surprised at how much I enjoy somebody. Like Bruno Mars. I didn't know Bruno Mars before he did the halftime show.
Oh, nice.
And since that halftime show, I love what he does. And so, but yeah, the gentleman with the weird faces, but the happy music, it was just weird to me, and I didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel like that was okay. Well, yeah, I think I just had my years turned around. But yeah, I mean I didn't like that performance either. I didn't like the Weeknd's performance at all. But in general, his music is great. That performance, and I don't watch him live. Again, he's another like an artist I like to hear recorded. Like you need sort of full context to enjoy the Weeknd, and that live show doesn't give you full context.
Yeah. Okay, so apparently there's supposed to be an American Sign Language performer. Okay.
So
That should be good. Well, now I'm intrigued. What does Mary Miriam have to do?
that's actually what I'm about to. That's what I'm about to invest a little bit of time in. Is relearning
Mary,
American Sign Language.
really?
It's
Just
for the
random?
no, it's for the anime thing that I'm working on.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
It's
Janae
a part of how to
Aiko.
communicate.
Oh, okay. Janae Aiko and Mary to sing America the Beautiful at Super Bowl 56. Is that gospel duet and fellow LA natives Mary are also set to perform the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Ooh,
Okay, that makes sense.
okay.
Hmm.
When Aiko shared news on her Instagram, pointed out a special detail that makes this moment even more amazing. My dad's from Cincinnati. My mom is from LA. Wow. To
That,
which Guyton responded, look at God. Oh, this is about to be some blackness.
hmm hmm
Look,
they put
anybody
Jay-Z
would
in
say, look at
charge.
God. You know that's
Right. Right. They put
okay.
Jay-Z in charge,
Well,
and
now
all
I
of a sudden,
understand. Yeah. Okay. So, like the other little guy that was on there, I guess I'll just have to figure out what he's doing because nobody's mentioning anything. But so apparently, the mood is that hip hop West Coast royalty halftime during Super Bowl. Really? Kendrick ain't already got it? What? Okay. In terms of hip
already
hop
got.
royalty, there's no question. All of the performers who are headlining the Super Bowl halftime show are part of that conversation. Dr. Dre and Snoop being the oldest of the bunch, who've been around the scene since the 80s and have dominated the West Coast hip hop ever since. Dre was part of legendary NWA. We know all that. After that, he had the vision to see the sheer skill that Marshall Mathers showcased in his writing. That's how Eminem was born. He was a new kid on the group who literally took the world by storm. Now it's time for the old guard to publicly acknowledge the new guard. The Super Bowl halftime show is a perfect opportunity for all those heavy hitters to pass the baton to the man who has been dominating hip hop for the last decade. Funny enough, Kendrick Lamar also came out of Compton. Funny enough, and his writing skills are already unmatched compared to any rapper in U.S. history. Oh wow, come on, all right,
That's right.
go off. We are also counting the late greats Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. I ain't mad. Even former President Barack Obama publicly acknowledged the talent Lamar has after praising his To Pimp a Butterfly from 2015. Deals with heavy undertones related to modern day slavery and racism. In the end of that album, there's an edited conversation between Kendrick and the late Tupac that mesmerized the entire world of hip hop. Blah, 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 blah. Out of this lineup, most of the rappers who will headline the Super Bowl are considered West Coast artists. The ones from the East Coast won't appear, but they also deserve a mention as royalty. Blah, blah, blah. We're not doing that either. Okay. So, yeah, because this won't be the night we discuss hip hop culture. Okay, so
Right.
okay, well, I see the vision now. Okay,
Right.
kudos to Jay-Z
Right.
for putting that together. Amen. All right, well, that sounds
Right.
like a plan. So, but one Thomas Brady, I hope that he gets everything that he has coming to him very swiftly because as much as I have hated on Tom Brady,
hmm
you cannot fight with what he has done in the game of football. It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I just think it has to be acknowledged. It's worth acknowledging. The man has had an exceptional career. And I celebrate greatness no matter what jersey it has on.
True.
And the gentleman has been great for 22 years. That's a long time to do anything
hmm
and to do something as impressive as win all the Super Bowls. Um, he's been to more Super Bowls. I was listening to the statistics somewhere, and I was wishing I could find the breakdown. But they talked about how he, as an individual quarterback, now has more Super Bowl rings than any franchise. There's no team that has as many Super Bowl wins as he does. Super Bowl appearances, I think it was. I don't think it was wins. I think it was appearances. But
No,
he's
it was
been
both.
really.
hmm
That's crazy. That's insane.
Because the Patriots had just tied everybody else when they got to 6.
Okay.
So him getting that extra and putting him over the top on both
It's
sides.
okay. And I just think that's exceptional. I also think that his retirement is a passing of the guard as such. What they're talking about, they're doing with the music at the halftime show. I think it's also a changing of the guards as well, because to me, as I look around the league, he's the last of the Gen X starting quarterbacks. I think there might be some reserves that are sitting out there that might be close, coming up close in age.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the current roster of starting quarterbacks with Ben Roethlisberger going homes,
Right.
going homes, what? But when you look at him and Ben Roethlisberger both going home, I give him more credit than I do the others, because I think when you look at the list of the rest of them, you're primarily looking at millennial and younger, whatever is behind millennial.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z, I guess, is what they are. I don't know.
Yep.
But it just seems to me like, let's see, NFL starting 2021. So you're looking at who? Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers is kind of a tween in there, because he's done, 17 years.
I think so, yeah.
Matt Stafford.
But he also started late though. He didn't really start playing until early 2000s.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow. So 2 years in. Josh Allen, 4 years in. He's another hoot. Kyler Murray, who I kind of halfway enjoy a little bit. Matt Stafford, 13, so he's kind of a tween in there too. But Dak Prescott has only got 6 years. Derek Carr's only got 8. Ryan Tannehill, I forget about him.
Right.
Only done 10 years. Russell Wilson's only been in the league 10 years. Feels like we've known him a long time.
Mm-hmm. Just because he won early.
Yeah, true that. Kirk Cousins, he's another one. I don't like Michigan State people, so
yeah, no.
He doesn't count. Lamar Jackson's got 4 years in. Jalen Hurts somehow holding on year 2. Matt Ryan's kind of a tween in there. I actually was offended that they call Matt Ryan Matty Ice, because I really feel like that belonged to Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I mean it should have just on just jersey colors, that would have been that would have worked a little bit better. That merch would have been crazy.
Yes, and it's again, I think, a place that Detroit failed us, because that's who he should have been, playing in a cold atmosphere. I mean, it's Detroit. It's always cold.
Yep.
We've been to Detroit in the middle of the summer and almost froze to death.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean Detroit teams are lacking in every sense of the word.
It's like they should have grabbed that. Yeah, he should be Matty Ice. Mac Jones, rookie. He's a Bama boy, so I'm gonna support him, even if he does play for Darth Vader.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater, who he's another one I forget about. I forget that he's out there. Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised is still here. Yeah.
He's another one who it feels like he's been in the league forever. And this says he's only done 6 seasons, and that's crazy to me, because he feels like he's been mediocre forever.
Because I mean, he basically has.
Yeah.
All 6 of those years.
Jameis Winston, Tua down in Miami. Jared Goff, who I never got.
Right. Didn't see what the big deal was.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, who I think Joe Burrow may be what we expected Baker Mayfield to be.
Oh, 100%.
because
I
yeah,
I am very
Baker,
much on the anti Baker Mayfield
yeah. I
whatever
think
it is bandwagon or
I think Baker Mayfield's got too much swag to be
yeah for
humiliated.
somebody yeah
Yeah,
exactly to not
yeah,
be to be little and not good like
yeah,
it's different. Joe Burrow is he's not the biggest guy, but I think he's like 6'3" ish something like that.
yeah,
He can back it up a little bit more. I mean he's just a better player,
yeah.
but
It's
yeah
Daniel Jones. He's a giant, so I
right
think the stink of Eli Manning still rests upon that job. So
yeah
whatever. Ben Roethlisberger, yeah, Ben Roethlisberger was a not as old as Tom, but 18 years. That's a long time.
hmm
This dude in Washington, I won't even mention his name because I don't think he's still their quarterback. Is Justin Fields still in Chicago? I don't
hmm
know him. Davis
he's good.
Mills in Houston, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, who I've hated since they beat Bama that year. Sam Darnold, who by name I've always gotten confused with Aaron Donald.
Dang.
It's the way my brain works.
Right,
Maybe
right.
not.
Aaron Sam. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Aaron Sam that.
Right.
Thank you, Brady, for pointing out that I'm slow. This is Zach Wilson. I've always on the low had a great deal of love for the Jets. I don't know why. Just randomly, I like them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in the same boat, and I also have no. The Jets have never been good as long as I've been alive, so that's
They
weird.
they've not been good my whole life, and then but the Joe Namath
Oh,
of it all for me as an Alabaman,
hmm
the Joe Namath of it all. Um, when they drafted Sanchez, that was a big one for me because that was when I was really watching college ball a lot.
hmm
Um, Brad Smith, Mizzou quarterback,
oh, true.
kind of featured for them for a while. They had the Ryan boys,
hmm
and I grew up on Buddy Ryan, and so having his
Oh yeah.
boys coaching up there kind of always had my eye turned that way too. So I think it was kind of I was connected by heart to things that were that had to do with the Jets. So I've always kind of felt a certain way about them, and I don't ever know why because they've been terrible
Mm.
my whole
Right.
life.
Right.
But saying all that to say, I still believe that Joe Burrow is going to give us something to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because Matt Stafford can't be underwhelming.
hmm
But I'm happy for him to be in a good situation, and if he wins, I won't be mad. But if this halftime show is trash, I won't be mad if Cincinnati wins. I'll probably be geeked about the ghetto behavior
hmm
um, that we stand to see, and I won't be mad if the Rams win. I'm just not, aggressively pushing for them. But if that halftime show is bad, I'm gonna have an attitude.
Dang.
So
Yeah, we'll see. I think
yeah,
it should be pretty dope.
yeah, yeah. So I'm, now that I know to be on the lookout for Mary Janae Aiko. That's odd,
hmm
but they'll bring it home somehow. We'll see. And then the other guy on the poster who I had no idea who he was, he'll probably rock it.
I was gonna say yeah.
Yeah, that'll be
I
good.
always gotta have one random in there just to keep it
Yeah,
fresh.
yeah. But no, I'll cheer at Tom Brady's Hall of Fame induction as if I was a fan his whole career. Because I am a fan of greatness. Now that I do, and I love an assassin,
Mm.
and I think that's what I appreciate with Tom Brady more than anything was those 2 minutes. Leave this dude 50 seconds, and he's going to beat you.
Mm. Yeah.
He's going to beat you. I don't know who this,
Let me on.
but if you let him sit long enough,
Who are you
and
guys?
and he's going to show you something. So I'm looking forward to it. So
Yep.
hello, sir.
Sorry about that. I didn't think you guys can hear me. How you doing?
You-
Oh, you're not on StreamYard. You're on Facebook.
I'm on StreamYard and Facebook.
Oh, you're on both. Oh, okay. Okay. What are you
Yes.
guys talking about over here? What's going on over here? My name
A
is
little
Kat.
of this, a
beg your
little of
pardon?
this, a little of that.
Oh, okay. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I heard you talking about Cincinnati Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Just talking about it. Me as a passive football fan,
Oh yeah.
my son having a little bit more
Your
little
son.
more technical knowledge than I.
Oh, you look real young. I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh okay.
So, but
So
yeah,
you guys.
we were just closing up, and I was
Oh.
giving out my draggy appreciation of all that Tom Brady has brought to the game.
Okay. Okay.
Celebration of his killer instinct. Those
Yeah.
those 50-second, those last 50-second, doing it big situations. Admirable.
Oh.
But admirable.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah, no, we were just kind of musing about.
Okay. Well, you had the StreamYard open, so I just wanted to join in. I just happened to see your platform.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. How often did you go live? How often did you go live?
Every week.
Once a week?
Once a week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
You just talk about anything, huh?
Pretty much. Whatever's happened in the news.
What do you think about Joe Rogan?
Oh my gosh. We talked about Joe Rogan for about a half hour.
I did a 5-hour live stream about him.
Did you?
On my page, Chaotic Truth Live. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I will find you and see.
Yeah. I've been watching it for 13 years.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not at all familiar with what he does.
Comedian, podcaster. He does a lot. He was on Fear Factor back in the early 2000s, I think.
See, and that's the Joe Rogan that I know.
Oh, okay.
It's Fear Factor. Here's some grub worms climbing this coffin.
Yeah, eat these roaches. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's a bowl of roaches.
Yeah.
That's the Joe Rogan I know.
Now, do you two? I hope you two aren't really easily offended because my page is a little bit, it's kind of like, controversial. You happen to go there.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll check you out.
I don't use any vulgarity though, by the way.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll check you out, and then when we get ready to hop on next week, we may come fight you about Joe Rogan.
Oh, please do. I mean, listen, I don't have an echo chamber, so I love when people come and disagree with me. So, yeah.
Look, I didn't mean to call him Joe Raggedy, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet you guys. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You have a peaceful night.
Peace. Yep.
Bye-bye. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope Tom gets everything that he's got coming to him.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. I know, sis, right? So that's all I have for tonight. Brady, before you came on, we talked a little bit about Joe Rogan, talked about my heritage DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That we straight Nigerians up in this joint.
Right. Plus that 13%.
That 13% Scandinavian.
Right.
That I'm gonna try to keep in check.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a little Viking in us, is all I can say.
Right. All right.
Yeah. So anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I want to give people an opportunity to get caught up on Hamilton. Please watch it if you have not. I am obsessed. I'm actually probably going to go watch a few minutes of it tonight before I go to bed. I want to do a whole show on Hamilton.
Right.
I am a huge fan.
Just to break down everything, yeah.
Yes. And so I'm going to have, hopefully I'll be able to have Yvette on to join in with us on that conversation, because I thought I had a problem. I talked to her the other day. We the same crazy where Hamilton is concerned. So
Right.
I'll probably have her jump on that night. Soon, sometime we'll have a Hamilton special.
Gotcha.
You got any big shows, projects coming up before this week?
Nope.
No?
Just finishing up the we're finishing up the album, and we should be done with that fairly soon.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, indeed.
Glory to the Lamb. He's worthy to be praised.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I thank you all for coming to hang out with us. Hayes family, love you much. Thank you so much for hanging out and being here, enjoying the process. Evangelist Crystal was on earlier, helping us move the conversations along. Again, thank you for checking into the check-in. We started these as conversations between me and my son to kind of catch on. Look, when I tell you Hamilton is the business, oh my gosh, I love it so much. But these started out as conversations between me and my son, just kind of catching up with each other after work. And so we are very big on pushing family relationships. Check on your people, because you never know. We've always said it. And then this year we've had, a lot of family changes. So check on your people, spend time with your people. Somebody posted today, you're extremely replaceable on your job. There's nothing more important that we have than family. There's nothing more pivotal, and there's nothing that you can change more. Something happens to me at work, they're going to post my job before I hit the ground. So check on your people. That's really what it is that we're hoping to drive, is having conversations, whether you're doing public or private. It's important, that we be talking to one another. So thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Check-In. We appreciate you. We thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all soon somewhere out there in real life. I'm going to go check out this chaotic truth situation and see what's going on here.
Yes, indeed.
But have a peaceful night. Love you. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Love you. Y'all be safe.
All right.